The Guardian's misleading coverage of Dr. Rowley's detention claims, an editorial critique by Professor Wall Street. The Guardian's recent editorial regarding Dr. Keith Rowley's alleged detention in Antigua represents a troubling departure from journalistic integrity and critical analysis. While positioned as balanced commentary, the piece fails to adequately contextualize Rowley's history of public deception and treats his unsubstantiated claims with unwarranted credibility. This editorial response examines why the Guardian's coverage is both disingenuous and misleading. Here are 10 reasons why the Guardian's editorial is disingenuous and misleading. 1. Selective amnesia regarding Rowley's track record. The Guardian conveniently ignores Dr. Rowley's well-documented pattern of public deception that earned him the moniker the Lying King. The editorial treats his claims as credible without acknowledging his history of misleading statements about Petrotrin's closure, the Emailgate scandal, meritless manipulations, and the phantom $100 million allocation to disadvantaged communities. This selective amnesia undermines the editorial's credibility and misleads readers about the source's reliability. 2. False equivalence between unsubstantiated claims and official denials. The editorial presents Rowley's uncorroborated allegations as equally valid to official denials from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and Antiguan authorities. This false equivalence suggests that personal testimony from a politician with a history of deception carries the same weight as institutional records and official statements, a fundamentally flawed journalistic approach. 3. Manufactured legitimacy through diplomatic status. The Guardian inappropriately uses Rowley's former diplomatic status to lend credibility to his claims, arguing that someone of his stature wouldn't fabricate such stories. This appeal to authority ignores the reality that political figures, regardless of rank, have repeatedly made false statements for political gain. Diplomatic status doesn't immunize anyone from scrutiny or accountability. 4. Mischaracterization of Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessa's response. The editorial unfairly characterizes PM Kamla Persad-Bissessa's response as casual dismissal when demanding an apology represents a reasonable response to unsubstantiated allegations that could damage the nation's international reputation. The Guardian fails to acknowledge that responsible leadership requires challenging false narratives rather than legitimizing them. 5. Burden of proof reversal. The editorial inappropriately shifts the burden of proof, suggesting that the absence of evidence doesn't mean there's no problem. This reversal of basic journalistic and legal principles allows any unsubstantiated claim to be treated as potentially valid, creating a dangerous precedent where politicians can make allegations without evidence and expect serious consideration. 6. Amplification. Without verification. By publishing this editorial, The Guardian amplifies Rowley's claims without adequate fact-checking or verification. The piece acknowledges that concrete proof of an Interpol red notice for Dr. Rowley remains elusive, yet continues to treat the matter as legitimate, effectively serving as a megaphone for potentially false information. 7. Institutional undermining through speculation. The editorial undermines institutional credibility by suggesting various conspiracy theories, miscommunication, lack of transparency, procedural errors without evidence. This speculative approach damages public trust in institutions based on the unverified claims of a politician with a documented history of deception. 8. Ignoring pattern recognition. The Guardian fails to apply basic pattern recognition to Rowley's behavior. Given his track record of false statements about Petrotrin, Emailgate, merit lists, and community funding, a responsible editorial would have questioned why this particular claim should be treated differently. This failure represents poor analytical journalism. 9. Political theater enablement. Despite claiming this isn't political theater, the editorial enables exactly that by treating unsubstantiated claims as newsworthy without proper skepticism. The piece provides Rowley with a platform to create controversy and distraction without requiring him to provide evidence. Classic political theater tactics. 10. International reputation damage. Ironically, while expressing concern about Trinidad and Tobago's international reputation, the editorial contributes to that damage by legitimizing unfounded allegations. By treating Rowley's claims seriously without evidence, the Guardian perpetuates a narrative that the country's institutions are unreliable, potentially affecting international relations and confidence. In conclusion, the Guardian's editorial on Dr. Rowley's detention claims represents a failure of journalistic responsibility and critical thinking. By ignoring Rowley's documented history of deception, treating unsubstantiated claims as credible, and shifting the burden of proof away from the claimant, the editorial misleads readers and damages public discourse. Responsible journalism requires acknowledging that politicians who have repeatedly misled the public, earning nicknames like the Lion King, cannot expect their claims to be accepted without extraordinary evidence. The Guardian's failure to apply this basic principle reveals either incompetence or bias, neither of which serves the public interest. The Fourth Estate's role is to hold power accountable, not to amplify unverified claims from politicians with questionable credibility. This editorial fails that fundamental test and undermines both journalistic integrity and democratic discourse